No question about it, I am ready to get hurt again.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust for 2025. My name is NAGGY. I'm here, of course, with my co-host Liam McNeil. But before we kick off, we have our musical guest for this week. Please welcome Mr. Lean Backman.
The boys in town are back, boys in town are back. The boys in town are back.
Thank you, Mr. Backman. Liam, of course, 2025.
The Town boys are back.
The Town Boys
Doesn't
are
it feel
back?
great,
I
Naggy?
don't.
We've fallen into our seats like an old pair of pants. The bums are slightly worn out. The
Yeah.
pockets have worn through, but they just feel great.
My glasses are foggy. I've put on weight. It must be 2025. Now, Liam, how do you feel your time when there's no rugby league available? We were sort of almost so excited for this to happen because
My wife was worried for my mental health.
Yes, yeah.
Naggy,
yeah.
my mental health suffered terribly while there's no football on because I don't know what to do with myself,
You're,
Naggy.
you're not much of a cricketsman outside of course.
No, but there's been so much sport otherwise,
Yes.
regardless of cricket. I feel like I fell out of love with the Australian cricket team sometime in the mid-2000s. You know, we used to
Okay,
be great.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about making things great again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like cricket, it fell off the radar of the Australian public, and that's sad.
It's got to sort of bubblegum pop with its
So much
2020.
bubblegum pop.
Yeah.
You used to have, Langer and Hayden walking out with swagger, and now you've got the One Direction boys in Stephen Smith.
Yeah.
Meandering about. He's the only saving grace of Australian cricket of the last decade, I think.
Of course, there's
I say that having watched zero cricket in the
what's
last
the young
decade and a half.
who's the young fellow that I'm thinking
Usman
of?
Khawaja.
Yeah, he's definitely old. Sam, the young fellow is Sam Constas, very constant as far as his ability to perform and excite the crowd there at the MCG Boxing Day.
So I've always found it to be a very sexual sport, cricket.
Oh yes, excitement out at the wazoo again,
And wood
sexual, yeah.
Stumps, ashes everywhere,
do you-
all over the place.
Do you ever flick over to
I flick over all the time. Now. It's great.
the
Sorry, darling.
the of course do you ever flick over to the city to Hobart? Of
Never
course,
in my life have I flicked over to the Sydney to Hobart.
It's sort of something there in the peripheral now. There was the year that everyone passed away.
the
I think,
storm.
the
There was
storm.
the year of the storm.
Now, if I
Wasn't that a Tim Winton book?
the year of the storm?
The year of the storm.
I think
Storm
possibly
Boy.
Storm Boy with the pelican.
Yeah.
And but I think if I was
I never read
organising,
the book, but it was a nice cover. It
If
had a
I-
lovely cover.
if I was organising an event, Liam, and then at the end of the event, several participants died, I'd say, do you know what? Let's not do it again. But for some reason, the city of Hobart has
Like, no,
persevered.
we're going on with it.
We're doing
We're sticking
again.
with it.
They knew exactly what they were getting themselves into.
Are we going to change the route? Nope.
No. But Liam, the year has been filled with so much sport.
No, it's been
we-
incredible. It's
and
been
we-
overwhelming.
and we have to compact that into a segment we like to call the news. Thank you. Lean. Very lean. Now, Liam, if we're looking at what's upcoming there for the NRL season, we can't go past, of course,
What's already happened?
the very excitement that we start off the year now. We don't just start off round one in Gambletown. No. We go all the way to Las Vegas.
Let's not start any round in Campbelltown. As I believe the night's first game is in Campbelltown.
Campbelltown,
I'll be
but-
avoiding it wholeheartedly.
We've been shuffled down the order there of our beloved Newcastle Knights. It looks like it's a passerby that we might be the first game, but no, there's two games in Las Vegas. Viva, as Elvis once said.
He did.
Gambletown.
Gambletown.
Yeah. Like the player. Very good.
And the crippling habit that affects thousands of Australians. Like, the same thing.
It brings people in. Like Las Vegas doesn't really
And
have.
it spits them out.
Las Vegas doesn't have the kind of shine to maybe Americans, because Americans have to travel to a casino if they want to play poker machines.
I can
But
just go to the pub.
every
Yeah.
pub's got poker machines
They're a bunch
here.
of chumps over there. Yeah.
Everyone's already got their losses
Don't
out of the
even
way.
start me on the owners of the Dallas Mavericks. My God, the gambling and it's ruined that franchise.
Is he a gambling man?
She.
She is a gambling man. Look at me with the sexism straight out
Exactly.
of 2025. The
We
assumption,
pick up right where we left off.
the assumption that I assume it must be a man that owns the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, he was, but then he died and his wife took it.
oh, there you go.
The Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas
Yeah.
Mavericks. The Mavericks are what sport, Liam?
Hoop ball.
Remind me, the hoopsmans and women Brisbane.
We're doing a whole separate episode on the Doncic trade. So it's a whole scene. It's a whole scene. My word.
But Liam, if I was looking at exciting sports that are sort of predating,
It's got to be rugby league.
well, rugby league, but
got to be rugby league.
But you're also somewhat Canadian, I could say,
to an extent.
To an extent,
Some would say half.
and
half and half.
And you've were watching a very exciting game with the Canadian.
Yeah.
This is a national game. It's a test match in hockey form.
It's been such a good off-season for other sports that aren't rugby league.
Yeah,
You've got the hockey going on. You've got the Four Nations Championship going on.
Yeah.
You've got international rugby, maybe in the best place it's ever been. Any of the top 10 teams could knock off any of the other top 10 teams.
Tight cop.
Australian Super Rugby teams are back in relevance.
They're back.
Is that the one?
They're super again. Yeah,
Revelationary. It's a great time to be a non-rugby league loving rugby league fan.
Now, you were quite engulfed with the Canada v USA
Ice
game.
Rugby League,
Ice
yes.
Rugby League, which you get the sort of the fights and the big contact that you have on a rugby league field, but that's soft grass, Liam. These men are
hard
letting-
ice.
This is basically slippery concrete, nice
Wearing a 8-inch chef's knife on your shoe.
Yeah. and also punches are somewhat acceptable. Now, can you tell me what happened in the first 10 seconds of this game?
Now, Naggy, there are those that'll tell you keep politics out of sport.
Keep politics
Naggy.
out.
They'll tell you keep politics out of sport. The people who tell you, Naggy, to keep politics out of sport are the people who have never needed political support to advance, their society or their personality. They're people who have lived cushy, boring lives and have never needed anyone to come in and help them, to buoy their spirits. And we saw this in the hockey world this year. Now, a bit of context, Joust, is it's been a long time since we've had best on best ice hockey, where the best players in the world are playing for the best players in the world in their national shirt.
Yes.
The Team Canada shirt, one of the proudest jerseys
just
in the history of sport.
Red, of course.
So for the first time since 2016, they said, we'll scrap the All-Star... Well, For the first time, they said, we'll scrap the All-Star game, which is a farce. The NBA is the same. The All-Star game's a farce. And they said, you know what? We want people playing for the thing that they love. And what does a man love more than his own country?
Yeah.
So they finally said, we've got the best players in the world.
Yes.
We're going to make them wear their national jersey. They haven't done that since 2016.
Not a common thing, you're
Not
saying.
a common thing.
Right.
They had 2014, I believe, the Winter Olympics. They said, yes, all the best players in the world can play. 2016 World Cup of Hockey, all the best players can play. Since then, it hasn't happened. And they said, look, we want the Four Nations Championship.
Yeah.
We want a tournament that the players care about. We
What's
want the best players playing against best players.
Other two nations.
There was Sweden and Finland. Were the other two, but no one cares.
All the way over there.
They're a bit hairy.
Yeah.
And so what we saw was the most amazing expression of politics in sport. Of course, we had the tariffs issue.
Yes.
Of course, we had Donald Trump saying that he's going to annex Canada
Yes.
and make it the 51st American state. I don't think he knows there's more than 50 already. And so what we saw was just this incredible outpouring of patriotic pride and fury and anger and fisticuffs.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And we knew it as soon as it started.
Yeah.
In Montreal, in the pool stages, the American anthem came on. The singer was drowned out by this proud Quebecois people saying, I don't want your bullshit stars and stripes.
No.
Anthem. I don't care about the rockets' red glare,
Of course.
the chimneys smoking in air or whatever it is. It's a shit anthem.
Yeah, it is terrible. Yeah.
And of course, in the first 9 seconds of the pool game, 3 fights. 2 of them
Three
before
fights,
the game had actually officially started. So there was fury, there was fists, and it echoed the 2010 Winter Olympics, of course. Canada
fights,
loses.
was it?
Canada
Okay, this is-
loses the
hockey
pool
again,
game
sorry,
to the US to set up the fairy tale final.
I thought you were going to say the toboggan teams were also fighting.
No, the famous Jamaican bobsled toboggan team fighting against those. Remember, in the bad guys in Cool Runnings were the Swiss.
They're the Swiss.
They were
Oh,
terrible.
yeah.
And then, of course, you have the final, which Canada, America, they're playing it in Boston.
Yes.
A proud Boston crowd. The anthem, the Canadian anthem, strikes up. What do these Boston assholes do? They
What do
boo.
they do?
But in a beautiful, beautiful incident of cross-border
Violence?
not cross-border violence, cross-border love.
Okay.
All of a
right.
sudden, the Canadians were singing the anthem. The Americans were singing the Canadian anthem. It was a beautiful instance of synergy. Because the American people don't hate Canada.
No, of
the
course.
ruling elite, they hate Canada.
They might.
The people who are in charge, the oligarchs, the money people,
Yes.
that foreigner who's dangling Trump like a puppet, they hate Canada.
Yes.
Not the Americans. They sang along. And of course, in the great tradition of Canadian ice hockey. They were just way better. And honestly, this is one of the best things that's happened in ice hockey, maybe in the history of the sport.
Yes.
We go back to the 2010 Winter Olympics, Sidney Crosby scoring the golden goal. We go back to the Miracle on Ice,
Brother of Bing,
1980.
of course. Yeah.
Bing Crosby's youngest brother by about 60 years. And what we witnessed was truly, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, one of the greatest.
I can see getting choked up about this, Liam. This is
I am one of the greatest sporting events you'd ever see. I woke up early. I watched the game. I wept the whole time.
That's right.
It was about a 2-hour broadcast. I didn't stop crying. It was incredible. Canada won in overtime. Just it was pure sporting poetry, and it was pure politics being played on a sporting field.
Sport, yeah,
and we've got more to come about politics in sport, but I say, Naggy, keep politics in sport.
Keep politics in.
The rich white men will tell you keep politics out of sport because it doesn't affect them. You know who it does affect? The punters. The everyday fans who love sports. They shell out their $350 for a ticket.
Yeah.
They can't eat for a month.
Expensive.
They spend their monthly food budget on a ticket to see a bunch of blokes duking it out to fix the problems of the world. And they did.
Yeah. I'm glad that's happened, Liam, and I'm glad it's touched you so deeply.
Can we end the show? I can't breathe.
What a way to kick off 2025. Liam,
it's been a great year for non-rugby league sports.
Rugby league keeps telling us to keep politics out of sport, so Mr. Volandis, our fearless leader there, has decided to invite...
King Shill, Mr. Volandis. Yeah, you know, he's above the Packer Shills, the Murder Shills. He's got his own
thing.
Kind of level of shieldom that rises above all levels of shieldom.
Of course, they're going over there for this, the money. The hand thing means the money. Yeah. And they've asked Mr. Donald Trump, please attend the game. And they said,
well, USA Hockey asked that as well, and he didn't, and they lost. So, fuck him.
We've got there Donald Trump in his best AI Newcastle Knights jersey, but they've kept
on par maybe with Malcolm. What was the liberal dickhead? Scott Morrison.
There's so many of them.
Number one ticket holder for, of course, the Cronulla Sharks.
Yeah.
You've got Tony Abbott, number one ticket holder for the Manly Warringah Seagulls. You've got Donald Trump, number one ticket owner for the Newcastle Knights. That great franchise that we follow.
As soon as he heard the Knights weren't playing, he says, I'm not going to attend. I don't want to be there. And so
because he knows that the working people of the Hunter Valley will beat the shit out of him.
Speaking of beating the shit out of Liam, after Peter Volandis on American television said, Mr. President, won't you please come to our game? And he's on his knees and he's weeping as well. He said, please, because of the money. The hands thing means the money.
God, he'll do anything for money, won't he, for Landis? Yeah.
But we have always been waiting for a bit of a Vegas incident that have happened.
Last year was a disappointment.
I know. They all went over there.
It was Sans incident.
And well behaved.
Except the Spencer Lanu racism thing. That was pretty bad.
One thing that happened over there. But that happened on the field. What happens on the field stays on the field, apparently. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not the suspension, though. No. That definitely carried across. But the Canberra Raiders, of all teams, which I don't think I would have expected the Canberra Raiders to make this
to do anything that makes the news at all.
At all. I've barely heard of them.
Did anyone think they were in Vegas?
I didn't even know. I knew Penrith was over there.
I think now I've got an interesting theory about this. I think they were relying on the illiteracy of the American public. They put a team over there that said Raiders, and they thought that all the Las Vegas Raiders fan would say, "Oh, I think this is an NFL game. I'm going to go to it," despite the fact that it is not an NFL game.
Looks cheap.
It's a different sport entirely.
Yes.
The name of the team is different. The colours of the team is different.
They look like the Buccaneers.
The Peter Volandis, he thinks so little of the working man that he thinks they'll see a word and be like, I like that word.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look into it at all. I'm going to go look at that word, do a sport.
I'm on the Vegas Strip. I'm half pissed. I've put my mortgage through the poker machines and the tables, and I've decided to go watch sport to take my mind off of it. And they were hoping that they would go watch the Canberra Raiders v the New Zealand Warriors. They probably think that's also a national side. Now
the Warriors, I actually have a theory on that. They'll succeed over there, but we'll come back to that.
Because there's been a fracas, Liam. A fracas as far as an incident with the two Canberra Raiders boys. That's Hudson Young, who is from the Newcastle area. Also,
he's good honest Hunter Valley boy.
Not a stranger for a fracas.
Nor is any Hunter Valley boy.
I was calling it a fracas earlier today until you gave me what I assumed.
French.
The French pronunciation, as well as Smithies.
Morgan Smithies. Now, Morgan Smithies has kind of been taken over as the hard-nosed English forward in the pack, and he looks like a young Elliot Whitehead, who is the man man whose job he is taking over.
Yeah, also, if you notice his face there, he has got a bit of a shiner there.
Yeah,
now
the inflatable baseball bat.
Now, of all the scenarios that you could possibly imagine of rugby league players getting into a fight in Las Vegas, they decided to do this fight rather in the Las Vegas Strip with other people. They did it with each other in an elevator. But not only that, but with an inflatable bat.
A weapon.
A weapon.
A weapon.
Which in America could basically get you shot at any time of day.
Oh, not those guys. Look at their faces.
yeah, you notice something about their
faces.
Don't
worry, the Las Vegas PD aren't shooting those two
They
boys.
have plot armor. But also, when they were asked about the why did you get into a fight, they said, of course, it was an argument over who's going to sleep in whose bed. Now, geez.
They said, we don't want to share a bed. In my days playing footy, we'd fight over who we did get to share a bed with.
Oh, you'd basically have 4 beds to a team.
Yeah.
Everyone would be in. You know, you'd be people sleeping north to south, south to west.
See, now that doesn't make any sense, though, because you sleep head to foot, the genitals still match.
Of course. Well, they have
the genitals are in the same place.
Even though it's a warm climate over there, you can get cold.
But see, what the Raiders have done, not the Raiders as an organisation, I don't mean to impugn them as an organisation, I mean to cast aspersions on them as an organisation.
Cast away.
But what these players have done, they've said, look, there's pre-season scandals and there's in-season scandals. Why don't we wait till the 1 week where it's not pre-season but it's not season? They've made like an mid-season scandal.
Yeah,
it's really
just on the cusp.
Yeah,
cusp
just
season.
when you thought there was no other scandal a rugby league player could do. It's not an off-season scandal. It's not an in-season scandal. It's like a
rumor of a scandal. Just
what's the place between heaven and hell? Purgatory.
It's a purgatory scandal. Yeah. and these because this is basically as close as rugby league can come to an international incident. And so they had to.
I don't know. Every touring team that's ever toured another country has had an international.
We still have time, Liam, and I believe this also might pop up again. But these two fellas decided to get into a bit of a push and shove, a few punches thrown. Apparently, old Smithies there.
Again, they're mates.
Copped a few again within the friendship group about the bed that they're going to sleep in, because apparently they had to share because of some what we call a booking mix-up.
A booking mix-up.
Yeah, that's what we always call it. If you get caught in a bed with one of the fella. Of course, we've shared a bed many times, Liam. One time when we were sleeping facing away from each other. I was hoping
you wouldn't bring this one up, but here we go.
We're facing away with each other, being gentlemen that we are. And then because...
We don't want to touch genitals.
No, so we're facing genitals away in a sort of a curved motion, then it was sort of a butt to butt. And of course, then you farted and you basically...
Into your butt.
Farted into my ass.
Now, the thing about that, Naggy, is that I lived in the house next door to where we crashed. I could have just gone home.
No,
I didn't.
No,
I didn't.
We were very
on principle,
there.
because we fought over sharing a bed. They said, no, Liam, go home. You don't want to share a bed with Naggy. And I said, oh, boy, do I.
Yeah.
Oh, do I ever.
And we're not from Canberra, but there might have been a few inflatable bats as well.
It was a different time in our lives,
Joust. It was several years ago. Only a few.
Several weeks ago.
Las Vegas is off to a flyer, but Liam, if we go back to our beloved Newcastle Knights, looking at that before we jump into the trial form, we have to look at what they've decided to do with their marketing. Now,
it's a training jersey that was released by the wonderful people at Classic Sporting Uniforms. Bit cummy, don't you think?
It is a bit. There's something about over the top, because they've gone for what appears to be an attempt at a light. No, it's a map, isn't it? Not
it's a map. So you've got Newcastle, you've got Leighton Macquarie, you've got the Hunter, you've got Port Stevens.
No, it's apparently not a lightning
bolt. It looks like a lightning bolt. It looks like a load you've dropped on the shirt. It looks like, I don't know, some weird, parallel universe.
It's spider's web.
Stupid shirt.
It doesn't so they've decided to make this, and of course, instead of going for some sort of pattern, they've gone one side red, one side blue, one arm red, one arm blue. I mean, come on, who's doing this?
Someone in the marketing team woke up really hungover, slapped it together in MS Paint, and they said, here we go, we're good to go.
They went, 10 a.m, we got to get it in by, bang, 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 a bit of ejaculate,
Is this
here we go.
portent of things to come?
It could be a sign of maybe the resources aren't being directed into the right places.
Or maybe it
Newcastle
is.
Knights.
They're saving money on the graphic design to pump the money into the places where it's needed.
Pumping indeed, Liam. Pumping almost too much. I love my footy. Again, when you love your footy too much, this is what can happen. Now, Justice, we are going to take a halftime break, and we are going to be right back with all the Newcastle Knights trial form, as well as all the other teams that might be tickling our fancy and fancying our tickle to play us out again. Please welcome Lean Backman.
Town is back and boys, town is back and boys. Town is back and boys. Town is back and boys.
Playing with the boys. Playing with my boy. Playing with my boys.
Welcome back to the Joust. Now, Liam, the excitement that we can feel, the burning, the sensation that we have in all the loins.
There's a boisterousness of excitement in the room now.
I think it might be, Liam, and that is because our beloved Newcastle Knights have taken the field twice in our absence.
Two times. It's so many.
Yeah,
How can we possibly keep up?
There was a time before when the trials were treated these sort of untelevised games that you might be able to catch online. You had to search for them, and they were grainy.
Some would say it was Mickey Mouse football. It was rugby league that didn't count. And I think
Donald Duck football, maybe.
Donald Duck football, perhaps. And I think, look, before we go into talking about the trial matches that Newcastle Knights played, it's important to note, Jousters, the trial form means nothing.
Means nothing.
The scorelines in a trial game mean nothing. They have no impact on kind of your future vision of the season. The scoreline just doesn't matter, does it?
Matter.
No, it's not important.
It's purely a game just to work out the kinks, maybe create some kinks.
Blow the cobwebs.
Blow the cobwebs out.
Ended up on the training shirt.
Yeah, the cobwebs on the training shirt, which I end up at the kinks because I can't get through. Everything's blocked, and then, of course, you haven't been hosing, and then you just say, hosing, and then everything stops, and you look back and you give it a...
There's a kink.
You give it a big wave.
Yeah,
you try to wave
Wiggle.
the kink out, and that's exactly what Adam O'Brien's trying to do. He's been waving to all the kinks, hoping that it flows again.
Are you kink shaming Adam O'Brien, Nagy? That's a very popular thing now, kink shaming.
Well, kinks used to be not necessarily as popular.
Kinks
as
used to be something
now.
that we had in bloody hoses, and now we've got them all in society, and everyone's brains are all mixed up.
Well, was the 50 Shades of Grey, of course, brought kinks up.
Yeah.
Of course, there used to be things that happened in dark parts of Amsterdam. Now
And they weren't discussed in polite society.
No, but now, every other, 40-year-old mother of two just says, oh, well, I like it dark. And
we have to celebrate it as a society. We have to celebrate it, or we're being mean.
Yeah, it's the hose kinks. The hose kinks. Not casting any aspersions.
Joining us next week for our musical guest, Mr.
Hose Kinks. But thank you. In the meantime, thank you, Mr. Lean Backman. Backman. Sorry for that.
Sorry, Mr. Backman.
It's important to remember how important the trials are.
No, how unimportant.
Unimportant.
Yeah.
The first trial was, and that, of course, was the trial against Parramatta Eels. Now, we're coming up against the debut coach of Jason Riles, and we're almost at Jason Riles. We remember him back as this sort of force of New South Wales and Australia.
He was one of the early sort of athletic props.
Yeah.
Remember, he was one of the first props who wasn't just fat.
Wasn't fat.
No.
He was lean.
It's very confusing.
He was big, and he had a massive offload. I think
Skillful man.
I think it was around the 05 season. There was one Origin game that I think he had 11 offloads. It wasn't big.
That's too many.
Too many.
It's too many for a prop. I don't like it.
Just
like a rich man's Josh Perry.
He was. If Josh Perry had his life together, it could have been Jason Riles.
Now, I had a PE teacher at St Pius, and I won't name his name, but I'm sure he's a huge fan of the show because he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great
and he
jouster.
previously taught at the school that Josh Perry was at.
Yeah.
He reckons Josh Perry is the dumbest person he ever taught. In 20 years of teaching, he said Josh Perry is the dumbest student he's ever had.
One thing that...
Sorry, Josh, I know you listen to the show.
I'm a big fan of the show.
I'm sure you'll know which teacher it was.
He was. He used to be a fan of the show. And now, but I'll tell you one thing that Jason Riles has maintained, not only a strong hairline that we all
and
love,
beautiful grey. Grey early.
Grey early.
Steve Martin.
The Steve Martin, where you look 50 when you're about 45.
And then when you're 75, you still
look 50. Yeah. You sort of lay by your age a bit, and then you hang on to it. And that's what Jason Riles has managed to do.
You lay by your age, the last payment goes to the devil.
He has got his opportunity after the tutelage of Craig Bellamy after many, many years, much like our very own Adam O'Brien.
I was going to say, there's parallels between Riles and O'Brien. Yeah.
Now, that we took the field 2 weeks ago against...
Well, we didn't.
We didn't, no. The Newcastle Knights
Real
club.
men did.
Real men.
Real men who are not us.
Proper grey-haired, strong hairline men that took the field against the Parramatta Eels.
Yes.
Wearing the
Again,
Knights
in a
jersey.
trial game, so the result doesn't matter.
matter.
It's not important. The scoreline is not important. I cannot stress that strongly enough.
We also managed, without Kalen Ponga kicking conversions, we also managed to barely kick any conversions whatsoever. 4 tries to 8, Liam. Dylan Brown, of course, has been talked about as a possible Newcastle Knights prospect. Scores within the first 2 minutes. There's your 13 million right there.
Yeah.
He continued on. That it was 4 tries to 8, but really it was a Parramatta backline.
Cavalcade of Parramatta points. Nagy, is
I
there
think
anything
so.
constructive you can take from that first trial, which of course doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. There was 8 of our first graders not playing.
That's too many.
I think
That's too many.
If anything, our sort of stalwart of the Fords, Tyson Frizzell, put on a great hit during
what
the
a
game.
stalwart he is too.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the game, you thought, "Oh, hang on a second, we're in this." But it was also the debut of Fletcher Sharp at 6, which I thought was quite cruel, very cruel.
But at least they started him in trial match, which doesn't matter. That's important. But I think poor Fletcher, my God, Fletcher 14-7 tries. Caught out in defence there in the halves, Nagy. Do you think so?
I think he had the old sticky hips, Liam. He had the sticky hips where he's not necessarily quite comfortable defending up in the line, and he was staying a little bit close to either his centre or his back row around there, and just within that, I think he got caught up in some bad defensive reads. Look, many people will point out that Fletcher Sharp played in the halves in his junior football, but I dare say that every member of the Newcastle Knights and also every first grader also played at the halves at some point in their junior football because they're just the best.
Well, that's it, Nagy. I was hoping we'd touch on that because, every NRL player played in the halves for their junior team because they were the best.
Luke Bailey
I
would have
played in the halves.
Yeah,
Under 12, Sawtell Minor and Major Premiership.
Exactly. You can't carry that into. You can't carry that into.
Sawtell Green in under 11s came third.
Yeah.
I was fly half.
You can't move that into first grade form though.
Doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate.
But I think what we saw in the first trial match, which game doesn't matter, was a lot of the green shoots. We saw on the scoreboard there, we had Hong Kong's finest, Kyle McCarthy, scored a try. Jermaine McEwen, very, very promising young forward, scored a try. The one conversion from 4, Nagy, who got that one?
There's Connor Vitano. No, Votano.
Sorry, Joust, as I was hoping to fuck that up.
Vitano.
You got it perfect.
Oh, well done.
I've disappointed you, Joust.
You start with a V, and my mind just goes Vicinimatelli. I don't know. They just rolls off with all the consonants. But Connor Vitano was tipped to be the kind of Knights player to watch because we are just a fullback factory apparently at the Newcastle.
With the new fullback factory, it used to be Melbourne. They pumped out Cam Munster. Billy Slater, Cam Munster. They took Jerome Hughes from the Titans. He
also
was an incredible fullback. Ben Hampton at the time, if you recall, was very highly rated. Scott Drinkwater. The Newcastle Knights have become the fullback factory.
Yeah, of course.
We've got Kalen Ponga in. All of a sudden, we've got Davey Armstrong. We've got Fletcher Sharp. We've got Connor Vitano coming through. We are a verified fullback factory.
We are a fullback factory.
But I think, again, it was a game of rugby league.
It was.
It happened. We watched it. And now it's done, and we're better for it.
We moved on for it. It was a bit of it did look like especially the back line of the Parramatta Eels had it over the Newcastle Knights, and that didn't sit very well, nor did it bring us much confidence into our second trial leg.
But again, it's a trial match. Form doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But into our second trial, Nagy, I think we really need to discuss the important part of this is that trial form really, really matters.
It's very important.
Trial form is very important, and the score lines, the wins, the points differential is incredibly important to begin the season.
Against the Roosters, I think it's the most important thing, and we can all be buying grand final tickets.
Yeah. Sid Fogg, we went to the game, Nagy and I, and our dear friends Elliot and Joseph Frost, both in the media, prominent media figures. Yeah. And the president of Sid Fogg's was sitting next to me, and as soon as full-time hit, he saw the scoreline. He called Saab up.
He said,
I need 18 more double-deckers around at the end of September. Because we're going to have some people going down the F3 for that, that's for sure.
Broadmeadow straight into the CBD. Not CBD. Where they play it? It's outside of that, isn't it? Olympic Park, isn't it? Yeah.
It's in a swamp. I think Olympic Park's in a swamp. But, when form really matters in a trial. The Knights really brought their best. And
I think so
those
too.
8 players who sat out, obviously the first trial because trial matches don't matter, came back into the squad for the second trial because trial matches really matter.
Boy, did they ever! And I tell you what, I knew that we were missing Jacob Saifidi, the last of the Parent Trap that we have left. But I didn't expect him.
Just the first part.
Arguably the best low hand, I think. Jacob Saifidi.
He's the far better low hand, and he managed to score in the first 3 minutes of the game, and I think that's pretty incredible.
Pretty quick.
But the criticism.
Count them on your fingers. 1, 2, 3 minutes.
1, 2, 3
done.
minutes.
It happened in that time frame.
There are a lot of minutes.
We hadn't even found our seats on it.
I don't think we had. There are lots of minutes in the rugby league game, and he managed just 3 of them to score basically under the post. Now Fletcher Sharp, with much criticism in the first trial, managed to say, "Hang on a second, I've worked it out, and that is I'm going to be possibly the best 6 in the game. Hold your horses."
Definitely, sir.
Aggressively
Fletcher
confident.
Fletcher 4 tries. He's played 7 games for the Knights. He scored 25 tries.
25 tries.
That's
yeah,
unbelievable.
Can't be stopped.
There's never been a player quite like him.
And I think we were hoping that, and I think this is AOB's theory as well, that Fletcher could just hang around in that sort of 6 where Kalen Ponga is demanding so much of the ball around those edges that you say, look, just hang back, be like a Cliffy Lyons, run through on anything.
What we hoped Lockie Miller would be. You remember Lockie Miller? He was kind of running that second 5/8 role. Footwork, fast, powerful, can break tackles. Just hang around. Just hang around, get the offload. Let Jack Cogger run the team around. Unfortunately, Sawtell's second finest, Lockie Miller couldn't do it, but is Fletcher Sharp the man to do it, Nagy?
He seems like he's definitely put his front foot forward, and to any of the doubters out there, which
you
I
put your
might
back
have
foot forward,
the
it
back
becomes
foot,
the front
it
foot.
becomes the front foot. Takes the lead, if you will. And
I will, indeed.
I call them first and second. And so he took his second, became first, and then he continued on a sort of a pendulum motion, and then that carried him over the line on 2 occasions.
It's all gravity. It's all gravity.
But it was. There's always been a criticism of the Newcastle Knights of can we find our halves?
No.
We've lost them apparently. They're lost children walking around the shops. They have to call out and say, is there an...
Jackson Hastings is walking around town with big sacks full of money on his shoulders. We can't find him. We don't know where he is. He's shopping around at Market Town. You'll like it. You'll like it.
Adam O'Brien, can you please come to the information desk? There are a young boy with wearing number 6 and number 7.
Your 15 sons, who are all halves, are here at the information desk.
Lost.
Yeah.
They're lost.
But now,
can you find them?
We entered this season with concerns about Fletcher Sharp playing in the halves because all of a sudden we take a reshuffle because we all know that Kalen Ponga is the greatest rugby league player since
in the
Andrew
world.
Johns. And so that we know this, Nagy, for a fact that in the middle of the season, around State of Origin time, Kalen Ponga is going to get picked for State of Origin.
Probably will, yeah.
He's also probably going to be injured for 12 to 13 games. So we're going to need another fullback. Now, my concern, Nagy, was this. If Fletcher Sharp moves into the halves, Kalen Pond goes down injured and plays Origin, all of a sudden we have to move Fletcher Sharp out of the halves to play fullback. However, Jousters, in a stunning reveal, we have 2 incredibly good back 3 players coming through. You have obviously Connor Vitano. He's been talked up. There's a lot of clubs out, and after Connor Vitano, he can come in, he can play on the wing, he can play fullback.
Yes.
Because we also now have James Schiller on the wing.
Yes.
So if, for example, Kalen Pond goes down and injured, plays State of Origin, the greatest rugby league games of all.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we don't have to reshuffle the spine. We have Fletcher Sharp able to stay consistently in that spine.
James
with
Schiller
Vitano coming in at fullback, James Schiller staying on the left wing.
So rudely, James Schiller tried to steal away the Canberra Knights final in 2013.
What a dickhead.
Good Lord. 2023, I should say. Scoring 2 tries against us and then being basically ousted by Ricky Stewart.
Isn't Ricky Stewart a petty little bitch?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Petty, yeah.
You scored 2 tries, but we didn't win. You're out, Schiller.
Yeah, he's got a whole pack of nicotine gum in his gob. He's chewing away because he's stressed because he's just lost a winger to the
Man
Newcastle
needs to get
Knights.
on the Zins, I tell you. But I think that really reassured me. Was not only seeing Fletcher Sharp play quite well, but also seeing James Schiller send Angus Crichton into the shadow realm, and also seeing the form of Connor Vitano coming through, who will fill that full-back spot when Kalen does get called up to the Queensland State of Origin Rugby League team.
I like the smell of Dylan Lucas and KPP.
I like everything about Dylan Lucas. The smell, the sight, the feel.
He's great, isn't he?
Rub him up and down.
Look, I tell you, a boy from the Hunter Valley, you just really want him.
He's from Bega. Bega is the Hunter Valley of the South Coast.
He's
though.
not from the Hunter Valley? I thought...
He's been in the night system for years, but he's not originally from the Hunter Valley. But again,
That's a
Bega
shame.
is the Hunter Valley of the South Coast. And they make great cheese. And they bought Kraft peanut butter, which I think was a very, very good
Astute
patriotic
move.
thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think
Butter and peanuts, yeah.
Butter and peanuts. It's very simple. All you got to do, you don't need to outsource it.
No.
Bega said, we don't want to outsource it. We want to keep it in Australia. But I think what we're going to see, we've moved on to Dylan Lucas now. I think Dylan Lucas, Kai Pearce-Paul, 80-minute back rowers. Put them there. Say, do your job, boys. They're going to do a fantastic job. I'm very excited.
Tyson Frizzell in the middle at 13, you would say.
Because obviously with Dan Safidi leaving the team, say what you will about Dan Safidi and his form over the last maybe 2.5 seasons or so. Yeah. He is still a big hole in the middle. Tyson Frizzell has played some fantastic rugby league in the middle of the field.
He has.
And I think putting him maybe to that lock role to start the game
I think it will
allows Dylan Lucas, KPP, put them on the edges. Keep them there. Don't move them.
80 minutes.
God forbid you move them.
Don't touch
Adam
them.
O'Brien. Don't touch them.
Yeah, no fiddling.
No fiddling.
Yeah, he fiddles around, and we don't want any more fiddling around with that.
We've had enough of the fiddling.
And of course, the signature of the draft, Brody Jones, coming back into
an improvement he made towards the back end of last season. Brody Jones, I think he is a fantastic cog to fill either edge or middle. I think he showed last year that he's more than capable of playing both.
Yep.
I think Tommy Cant against the Roosters, he really showed that he did.
He did.
No, he can, he can't, he did.
Yeah.
I think he showed that he's definitely got a place in the 17 moving forward.
Yes.
And then, of course, we got to just admire and just kind of just glaze ourselves watching the amazing back five of the Knights. Your Bradman Best, your Greg the Bus, the Sid Foggs himself.
Yeah.
Dane Guy, Schiller filling in, of course, KP. I mean, what can you say about KP that hasn't been said about the Mona Lisa?
Oh,
Most beautiful thing ever. But yeah, I think
intended to be stolen as well, which I think is another comparison to compare to the Mona Lisa.
I keep trying to get him on a date. He just won't say yes.
He won't do it.
No, he won't do it.
He also had a very strong game, and I hope that what we see from the Newcastle Knights this year is that KP, one of the P's, not two P's. That's a different player now.
There's many of them.
So many P's.
Yeah.
Is that he is he's the polish, and he's not.
He's the polish on the shoe. He's not the shoe itself.
He's not the brass.
The polish on the shoe.
And hopefully that will be enough to see the best out of KPP, as well as consistently seeing the best out of the team.
I was concerned early into the second half when the Knights were ahead. And again, remember, trial form really, really matters. We need to get that win.
Really important, yeah.
Blew out my eardrum yelling at Adam O'Brien to put KP on the bench.
Take him off,
I said
30 points ahead. What more do we want to see out of the man?
But I tell you else I'm excited about.
What?
KPP.
Yeah, the additional P. Yeah.
We discussed last year it was KPP's first full season in the NRL.
Yep.
And from what I kind of took out of it was that Adam O'Brien said, put the offload away. Let's not muck around with silliness.
He's harnessed.
Let's not muck around with folly. Let's build your game on strong fundamentals. From what we saw in the trial game against the Roosters, which is the one that mattered, was that he's starting to get that arm free.
Yes.
He's starting to get the offload away. Because, of course, playing on the right-hand side, he's got left-hand fend, right-hand offload.
Both those arms are 6 foot long.
They're two arms. They're two arms that are both longer than our entire length.
12 feet.
I think what we're going to see from KPP, ideally, and I know Adam O'Brien listens to the show, take the shackles off KPP. Just throw the ball around.
Let him go. Take the leash.
Take the leash off.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have people on leashes anyway.
Shouldn't
So we talked about that with Adam. We said, take the leash off of everyone.
He said, okay.
Don't put leashes on people.
He said, you said you're right, actually. I said we needed to point that out before the cameras come out. And then he said, you got a good point.
Now, we like Nagy on this show to rock the boat.
Yep.
We like to throw takes that are hotter than, the core of Mercury.
Of course, yeah.
Dylan Lucas for Origin.
Well, I tell you what, he's certainly...
Dylan Lucas for the New South Wales State of Origin Blues. Nagy, finish that sentence.
A lot of people get the opportunity to do the Prime Minister's 13 there over in Papua New Guinea, and then they say, well, this is my rep game. Well done, and they pat themselves on the back and they go home.
No, not Dylan.
But not Dylan.
Dylan. They built him different in Bega.
They had an excellent
built him like
game.
Cheese.
I still thought
solid
it was
block
the
of
Valley.
cheese.
So Mr. Peanuts and Butter, he said that no, I'm going to take this with two hands because that's all the hands that I have.
You can't take three.
No, and he said I'm going to have the best game ever. And he had a really, really strong game against the Papua New Guinea side over there.
It was and they're a powerful team. Like
41 degrees over
for a second rower. to have a good game against the Kummels, you're doing good because they will try and bury you in the earth.
Yeah, and I think
it's amazing.
He showed how good of a back row that he is. Hopefully that he gets his opportunity there for 20+ games this year, and I do think representative football is in his future.
And I think the development of Connor Vitano and Kyle McCarthy are really going to benefit Dylan Lucas because we know Bradman's hamstrings are troublesome. We also know Bradman's going to miss some time due to playing Origin because he's the best centre in the game of rugby league.
I do think Kyle McCarthy missed a Hong Kong himself because that's where he's from. He was born there. Yeah.
He was born there.
And that he will fill into that more of an Ari Tuala role that we saw last year that has got to be filling into the wing centre where needed.
Which previously, last season we saw it.
Bit
Adam
green,
O'Brien would shift Dylan Lucas out to the left, but no, would shift him out to centre on the left. But no, not this year. AOB, keep Dylan Lucas stapled into that back row position.
Stay in the Hong Kongs and keep him, keep Kyle McCarthy
especially with, again, the middle. I think the middle forwards for this year for the Knights are not as strong as maybe they have been in the past.
There's a bit of,
and so you don't want to strengthen a weakness, or you don't want to weaken a strength to strengthen a weakness.
I've always said that.
I just said it. Yeah.
But Croker, if you will, can't, and as well as Brody Jones, I think is going to be in that. I think Adam Elliott, Mr. Boyle himself, might find...
Mr. Boyle, I forgot to talk at all about Mr. Boyle. Where do we see him fitting in this year?
Haven't seen him at all. Maybe he's not going to make the 17. Or obviously, we're looking to shift some salary cap space. It does seem like that... Jaden Brayley, Biceps Brayley, is going to be staying in that. He doesn't want to move. He wants to finish out his contract until he gets a better one for this year.
Well, I believe he's been told, as has the public, that he will not be offered another contract for the Newcastle Knights. So that's 1 year we have Jaden Brayley. We've got his heir apparent, Phoenix Crossland.
Mr. Phoenix,
do you think they start Jaden Brayley, Phoenix coming on at 14, and then when Jaden Brayley inevitably gets injured, it's all right, Phoenix.
Catastrophic injury.
Now, all of a sudden, bam, we have Matt Arthur to bring into the 14
potentially
Guernsey.
Only a very small man, but what he showed in the first trial that he certainly tackle. He's one of those small guys that learned how to tackle because they had to.
And the interesting thing we saw Nagy at that trial in Gosford, the trial that mattered, the one that was really very
important one. Really, it's the only one. Really,
it's the only one. It's the only one.
I'm surprised they televised the first one.
Was that at one point the Newcastle Knights seemed to play an 8-man spine.
Yes.
They had an entire spine of small guys. They had Fletcher Sharp, they had Kalen Ponga, they had Phoenix Crossland, they had Jack Cogger, they had Jaden Brayley, all out at the same time.
Yeah.
Is this kind of a harkening back to the small forward era of the 2010s that never worked?
Possibly, yeah.
Remember that in the early 2010s? We need small mobile forwards, and no one ever won the comp, and Adam O'Brien said, but it might work for us.
Hang on a second. We might be onto something here.
For a decade and a half, a lot of people have tried it. Never worked for them. But it might work for us.
Adam O'Brien has seen what we would call inconsistent success during this period of rule changes, the faster game, and I think that's what he's chasing. He wants fast halves. He wants like we see more traditional coaches like the Desi Haslers and like struggling to really make those sort of changes up the middle. I think Adam O'Brien, because he was coming in a fresh-faced young boy, green to
tiny baby man,
green to his ass, I say, and then
green as goose shit.
And then he had the opportunity to say, "Hang on a second, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to play around with it." So hopefully he's playing around with it. Finished last year, despite finishing 8th, one pass away from making it to the next stage of the finals against the Cowboys. I think potentially, if he can stick with his guns, we might be onto something.
Panagi, I think our ace in the butthole might be a man that doesn't often get talked about in the conversation of best wingers in the game. It's Greg Marju. Now, what we saw last year, Leo Thompson is a great example of this. Now, Leo Thompson, arguably the forward leader of the Newcastle Knights pack last year.
Absolutely.
If you look purely at superhero, Superman stats, super coach, whatever it's called, I don't know.
All of those things.
Leo Thompson did not rank highly as far as forward meters.
Yes.
Now, the reason for that is one of the real strengths of the Knights is that Greg Marjeur
basically
has about 7 hit-ups every set. And so the Newcastle Knights
in a six
tackle set, he has 7 hit-ups. Yeah. And so what you get from him is that you're able to conserve your forwards, maybe not have them work quite as hard because you've got Greg taking it off the back bloody fence.
Another 20 seconds to get back. Yeah.
And so I think
setting the platform, landing on the belly. Yeah.
And we saw it towards the end of last year and the season before that Greg is so unbelievably important to this team when it comes to yardage. And I, again, takes hotter than the surf of the sun.
Yes.
After Brian Tyler, he might be the best yardage winger in the rugby league competition.
Most frightening, possibly. I tell you what, he's certainly a scary fellow.
He makes his own headgear out of his hair.
He plats his own hair.
Doesn't need a headgear. He just plats his hair and it looks like a Steeden headgear on him.
$38 in his pocket. That's what's happened, except he had to pay that to the hairdresser that plaited his hair. So it all comes back. That's tax deductible, of course.
And I think the other thing, Nagy, that while I have my phone to connect the notes, what gets often missed when we talk about the Knights, because it's always, the Knights have just made it into the finals, or they've limped into the finals. But the Knights have made the finals.
Yeah,
the Knights have made the finals 4 years out of the 5 years that Adam O'Brien has coached. And if we look at it now, it would be bad if you were a rugby league team to be very, very good at the start of the year.
That's right.
And limp into the finals off the back of 4 losses.
Exactly
It
right.
would be very good if you're a rugby league team to limp through the first half of the season, finish strong.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the last 4 seasons, I won't count the first season under Adam O'Brien because it was a cobbled together team. He was covering up for Brownie's shitstorm. He'd had Brownie's buttered chicken. He was diarrheaing everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
If we look at the last 4 seasons, 2021,
Yes.
last 6 rounds of the season, 5 wins, 1 loss.
That's right.
2023, we won't talk 2022. I hated that year. It was a bad
It's
year.
like the Parramatta trial. It's not as important.
That's not important. 2023, 10 in a row and the best try-scoring team in the whole of the National Rugby League.
Yes.
2024,
Yes.
last 5 rounds, 4 wins, 1 losses.
Yes.
So there's a lot of talk about, the Knights happen to just limp into the finals. But to me, it's actually the Knights coming good at the time of the year when you want to be good.
Slingshot into the finals, I
Slingshot.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, taking a team that is not necessarily what you consider at the beginning of the season. A lot of people every year seems to say Newcastle Knights are going to come bottom 4, and they just don't do it consistently. The year even before, Adam, that you mentioned in 2020, 2021 possibly. Anyway,
22 missed the finals.
It was 22 missed the finals. 2020 they made the finals again. It just seems to be something that we can do consistently. Now looking
And
at
for all the halves jumbles, just to digress slightly.
Please digress.
The last year there was I think we counted, it was about 47 different spine combinations.
Yeah.
The spine combination that he settled on played the last 5 to 6 rounds. So he did settle on that combination. That was the best. So took the first 2/3 of the season.
First 20 was just a warm-up,
tool around a bit, muck around a bit, but then when the rubber came to meet the road,
of course,
he said, "All right, these are my guys.
Rubber
We're
road.
going to go for 4-1 in the last 5 rounds.
Pretty good.
Push the Cowboys right till the edge. I think that game was a lot closer, 1 pass away. And so from a fan base that was so used to coming last all the time, we are very quick to throw Adam O'Brien
under the bus.
Under the Greg.
Yeah.
And we have been throwing him under the Greg for a while. But I think it's important to note that he's a bit of a late season specialist.
There's also important to remember from 2023, right, there was some certain teams like Brisbane Broncos, the Warriors, and another scrapey finals team, the Canberra Raiders.
Yeah, the scrapey boys.
All made the 8, and the Broncos made the grand final. Everyone said, well, next year's got to be the year. Warriors next year up the Waz is the next year.
Broncos dropped down to 12th.
Warriors dropped down to
13th, I think.
Yeah, and Canberra Raiders down there as well. They fell into about 11th. But the Knights stayed in the finals. Consistently has been proven to be a finals record coach. Now, we want them to take the extra step, and we hope that this is going to be the year they take the extra step. They've made some significant changes. We haven't gone in with the same old shit and hoping that it's going to come out a different smell or turn white, and because that's what happens to shit.
Not anymore, because they took the phosphate out of the dog food.
Is that what it was?
I think it was phosphate. Yeah. But I guess, to really narrow it down and put a number on Nagy, where do you see the Knights finishing this year?
I see them finishing 7th. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win.
Sexy sentence.
13 to 14 games. I think it's going to be really tight middle like it was last year. We finished with 12 wins. I think we're going to be slightly better, but I think we're also going to be playing more consistently.
So it was rich in beef and bone meal, which had high calcium content.
Calcium.
That's why they're pooping out bones.
They're pooping out bones.
Yeah.
That was the dog's poo that we're talking about. Not the not
For those not watching the visual medium.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The dogs were shitting out calcium, not the Newcastle Knights rugby.
Not Adam O'Brien.
No.
He wasn't shitting on the ground, and it became white.
I think now
One second. Hello, Joust.
Yeah, there was calcium in the dog. I don't know if you mentioned it. Anyway, that was calcium.
Thank you very much. That was Adam O'Brien to say that wasn't him shitting on the ground turning white. It was certainly calcium that was from the dogs, and all of his shit has been picked up.
But yeah, I see the Knights this season starting strong.
I think that's what the Centre of Excellence is actually all about. It's just picking up Adam
putting
O'Brien's.
more calcium into the
More calcium.
We want the white dog shit back. We need the white dog shit back. But I see the Knights, if we're to use an inverse sine wave,
Yes.
of the first 6 games, Tigers twice, Titans, Dolphins, bye, and then an actual good team.
We'll have the
so
byes.
I can see 4 wins, 1 bye, 1 loss in the first 6 rounds. A bit of a dip, obviously, when KP goes to play Origin.
Yes.
Bradman Best goes to play Origin.
He will.
Dane Gagai, if he keeps up his form of the last few years.
Potentially.
Timeless.
Origin
Dylan
again.
Lucas is going to play Origin.
Yeah.
So we'll have a bit of a lull, but then I see the traditional Adam O'Brien kick to the end. What are they in the racing towards
Yes.
the end where they
Where
just
they whip
start
it.
stabbing the horse?
They basically stab it. They have a small knife.
You're
and
whipping, you're like,
then
it's
you
the
go-
stretch.
It's a stab.
Stab.
Yeah.
And a strong finish. And maybe second week at the finals. I don't know. And but I think the big thing, and I'm gonna
Please so
I'm gonna
aggressive.
get angry here, Naggy and Jousters. What I'm seeing, and this is actually good. The narrative is starting to turn. For the last few years, the narrative around the Knights has been: if Kalen Pong is injured, the Knights will be bad.
Yes.
Whereas every other one-man team, your Manly Seagulls, great example. If Tom Trbojevic is healthy, Manly will be good.
Yep.
If Kalen Pong is injured, the Knights will be bad.
Bad.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
It's
thing.
the same thing.
A negative
and
lens,
it
yeah.
sickens me to hear this.
Yeah.
But it's true. If Kalen Pong is gone, the Knights might be bad. But I hate the narrative, and I won't stand for it.
I won't stand
And
for
people
that.
say the Knights are a one-man team. I was
No,
like,
no.
well, yeah, their one man is top 3 players in the NRL.
That's
Why
right.
would you not be?
Yeah.
So I see an inverse sine wave
Yes.
for the Knights season, finishing strong, squeaking into the 8, second week of the final.
I think 13 to 14 wins, around that 6th or 7th place, and I think that we're still in a good position. We just got to get to the finals. Of course, this is a brand new competition. Once you get there, it's all about getting there. Liam, I'm going to talk about some quick fire questions with some teams that are not the Newcastle Knights. I'm going to firstly talk about the Brisbane Broncos, brand new coach, Madge Maguire. Of course, the magical, he's known as Madge. His magical win in Brisbane. There, he's just signed Ben Hunt. Now, my personal thing is that he hasn't made the finals with an NRL team in 10 years.
Now, Nagy, I'm going to go ahead and disagree entirely with you. Won a comp with South, won the Four Nations with New Zealand, Pacific Championships with New Zealand, won a State of Origin tournament with New South Wales. What other team did he coach? Not the Tigers. No coach in history could succeed with the Tigers. But Super League, won a Super League title. Every team he has coached, besides the Tigers, Tigers
that's
fans,
right.
they're dog shit.
They can't.
He has succeeded with. And so one of the things when he took on the Brisbane job, he's like, this is the biggest powerhouse club. This is such an insane challenge. They've never succeeded without Wayne Bennett. And he said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I think they're going to have a good year. And you got to remember as well, in State of Origin, no man is more studious and prepared than Michael Maguire. So he spent a whole year studying Reece Walsh to nullify him in State of Origin. So who could understand Reece Walsh's strengths better than Madge Maguire, the man who spent a calendar year studying him?
2 reasons why I don't think that Madge Maguire is going to do very well with the Broncos. One is the unreal expectation that the Brisbane Broncos fans and media
always
have.
do, don't they?
It's basically top
Isn't
4
it
or bust.
insufferable?
Even though we want to hit top 8, they want to hit top 4. So if they finish 6th,
we're happy if we scrape in at 8. They're furious if they come 5th.
The second is he's an imposter. He's a New South Welshman, and that the Queensland media are still completely licking and fondling the team that was Kevin. They think that he's the reason that Kevin is no longer there. Look at the size of that mouth.
See, now a lot of people at the decision were angry that Kevin Walters got fired from the Broncos because he's the heart and soul of the Broncos.
Yes.
I was sad that he got fired because now I have to listen to him talk shit on Fox League.
Sport,
God.
So
He's terrible. I forgot how bad of a commentator he was.
From 97 Super League, and then right up until 2006.
Not real comp.
Not real comp.
That doesn't matter.
And then like the first trial. And they seem to be like, oh, that is the golden Broncos age. We want that. But all of those players now have their fingers and toes in all the pies, in all the media, that they want him to fail. And as soon as he's
got such big boots to fill, like Ivan Henjak.
Yeah.
You know, that's a hell of a legacy.
If we're also, we disagree on Michael Maguire. That we think it might be the first time we disagree on this show. That Michael Maguire
I don't like it. I didn't enjoy that.
I feel sad inside. But if we move on to also a former Brisbane coach, Wayne Bennett, also a former Newcastle Knights coach.
But isn't this the ultimate Wayne movie? He coaches a club. They have the inevitable inevitable post-Wayne
Yes.
failure. And then he sweeps back in. Remember, he did it with Brisbane, of course.
Brisbane, yeah.
He's now doing it with South. Did you do it with St. He didn't do a second stint at St. George, did he?
No, but he did first. The stint with South was like prelims, grand final.
Yeah.
And then
the collapse.
But then he went to the Dolphins, had the year sort of preparing, went to the Dolphins, didn't make the finals in either of those years.
But
And
given what he was up against, I think his 2 years at the Dolphins were very successful.
I think they
if
were.
not on the ladder, in terms of what he did for that
To the
club,
actual
they were
club,
they were
yeah,
given
yeah.
no chance.
I agree. However, he's coming off that and then be giving a South side with.
And he's coming off his 95th birthday.
95th.
That's
He's,
tough.
happy birthday,
That's
Wayne.
the big one, 95, you know?
He's got no Latrell Mitchell for 8 weeks, and I'm a huge
lot of
fan of
weeks.
Latrell, as well
We're
as
big Latrell guys on this podcast. We love him.
no Cam Murray for possibly the whole season.
Which that's the big one for me. Cam Murray, the
He's
most
the soul of
handsome,
that,
hardworking
yeah.
man in this comp. After Connor Watson's the most handsome man.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Cam Murray's right up there. What is going on with the South Sydney Rabbitohs training? Latrell does his whatever he's done for be
Yeah.
out for 8 weeks. Cam Murray does whatever he's done for
Campbell
to be out for the
Graham
season.
breaks his-
Campbell Graham broke everything.
Everything. His
They're
sternum's
just-
broken, his hand's broken, maybe his soul and spirit.
Are they training on the asphalt
I
down
think
there
so.
at bloody Redfern Public School?
They might be.
They usher the kids off. You can't play handball.
Yeah,
We have
we-
to train on the asphalt.
We've got the boys coming
Yeah.
in and they play there and they break every bone. Get it on the grass, Wayne.
So-
I've been saying it for years.
And so surely they've got another bottom four finish. For such a proud club to have fallen so far, can Wayne bring it back?
What
you
does
know?
he care? He's got 2 years there. He's getting paid $1 million a season. He's probably going to, meet a new lady. And
Do you know the reason why he turned south? Do you know the reason why he turned
Goals.
south down initially?
why?
I can't remember South or the Roosters, but he got called to do an interview in Sydney and he couldn't find a parking spot and was like,
Classic.
"No, I'm not coaching here. I'm done."
I like him a little bit more from
That's
that
the
because
best.
not finding a parking spot
Yeah.
is the most frustrating thing in the entire world. South City has
And so he's like, "No, I'm not coaching here now. Goodbye."
have an absolute uphill battle. But if we're looking forwards,
We have been.
for the
Looking forward,
thank you, Mr. Lean.
looking.
Lean back? What we call it? Yeah.
Lean back, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Lean Backman.
Lean back.
Yeah.
That's right. Of course. Sorry, Lean back. I forgot your name. We got the Tigers coming up for round one, which is
A fun one to talk about.
It is now there's lots of juice and energy around Benji Marshall's Tigers. This is the third year that he's been involved in coaching. About the 27th year that he's been involved with the club.
Uh-huh.
Not of the many of
Well,
those
no, not
years.
really, because remember he was gone for so long. We always remember him as a
No, he was in
Tiger
our-
stalwart. He played for Brisbane. He played for the Auckland Blues in Super Rugby. He
Yeah,
played
but-
for St. George. He was away from the Tigers for about a decade.
But then he came back under Michael Maguire and still did fuck all.
No, he came back under
Ivan Cleary.
Sheens.
No, Ivan Cleary. Ivan Cleary came back.
Then he did his apprenticeship under Sheen.
They were happy with ninth at that stage, and I still think it's such a big.
They came ninth 3 years in a row, I think.
2 out of 3. I think.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. And then things went to heck in a handbasket, and they dropped to the bottom.
They've certainly got some excitement about Lockie Galvin. Seems to be a very, very exciting player, as well as Jerome Luai there from obviously Blues and Penrith fame.
Their spine, if you look at it, is very
There it
exciting.
is,
You got
really up on the
Apasai
screen.
Coruscant, arguably, still to this day, one of the best hookers in the game because his play doesn't really rely on athleticism. It relies on what's going on between his ears, and he's got
Yeah.
plenty in there.
Yes.
You got Jerome Luai, who showed last year when Cleary was out, and I think he's shown throughout his career. He is
Very
a
talented
fantastic number 7.
Yeah.
You've got a very exciting young talent in Lachlan Galvin at 5'8", likewise Dream Buller at fullback. I think the Tigers are a smoky for 9th again. Back where they belong.
That's honestly where I think they're
Back
going
where
to
they
land.
belong. I'm tipping the Knights for 9th. Not the Knights. The Tigers for 9th.
9th.
I think a big improvement is expected from them this year.
I think down there at Campbelltown, round 1, the Tigers.
Campbelltown, Leichhardt, Allianz,
all of them,
Bankwest. They've got about 7 home grounds. It's very confusing.
1 second, Liam. Hello, Joust.
Yeah, they've come last 6 times.
Thank you very much.
6 times?
Sorry, hang on.
Jesus Christ.
They're coming off 3 wooden.
That's a living nightmare.
3 wooden spoons. The Newcastle Knights can
I thought the Knights had it bad.
they know how much it really hurts to come last 3 spins in a row. One more time. Yo.
Sorry, I misspoke. They've come 9th 6 times.
They've come
sorry.
9th 6 times. Thank you very much.
That's even worse somehow.
That was Tim Sheens, but he was crying when he called. So that was they seem like
He's
a
at the
team.
nursing home. He's like, Wayne just left. He's going back to South Sydney.
They are desperate for a win. I wouldn't be surprised if they get over the Newcastle Knights round 1, but I don't think that's indicative of the season.
Are we going to disagree again then, Aggie?
All right, I think the Newcastle Knights have got it.
Yeah. Tigers are $1.40 favourites. I disagree.
$1.40.
Yeah, I think Knights are $1.49. But anyway.
Okay.
It's a tight one.
It's going to be a difficult team to play in round 1. However, it might be better to play them again in round 6 or whatever we do, where they've cooled their jets a little bit, and then they've sort of blown their tires. How many analogies can I use?
All of them. Now, we may as well finish a couple of quick fire ones. Let's get it out of the way. Knights players player.
Has to be Dylan Lucas.
Has to be Dylan Lucas. I agree wholeheartedly. Breakout star.
Voltaren. When your muscles are sore.
Representative player of the year. Who of the Knights gets a rep jersey and does it the best?
Brendan Best.
Oh God, Nagy, we read brains. Two men sharing one brain, each of us with half of that brain. That's exciting.
It is very exciting.
Looking forward to rugby league.
We're looking forward to happy rugby league with all of you people, and we're looking forward to watching the rugby league games together, even though we're not going to be in the same room. But
looking forward to watching them apart as well. We just like watching rugby league together, apart. It doesn't matter.
If you like us,
gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? You can find us on the Apples, on the Instas, on the Spots, on the Utes, and on the.
We gave up on Twitter because Elon Musk is a fuckwit.
Fuck the Twitter. As well as SoundCloud if anyone's still there. But we look forward to seeing you next week, Joust. Thank you for joining us for the first week. We'll catch you again soon.